Ladies and gentlemen, our next session is Indian Sport, an Insider's Perspective. Please welcome on stage Mr. Anil Kumble, former India captain, Mr. Kumble will be in conversation with Mr. K C Vijaya Kumar, sports editor, The Hindu. This session is brought to you by NTPC. Over to you, Vijay.
Namaskar, Anil.
Namaskar, Vijay.
Thank you.
I'm glad you haven't forgotten your Kannada.
18 years in Bangalore. Anil, the numbers you have is incredible. 132 tests, 619 wickets, 2,506 runs, 271 ODIs, 337 wickets. You're an absolute legend. I know in India we are besotted with batsmen, and we've had incredible batsmen down the generations, but as you keep rightly saying in many press conferences, you need 20 wickets to win test matches. And if you look at that yardstick, you are the greatest match winner India has ever produced in test matches. And it doesn't need any validation further than that. But I remember often you say this, that when you made your debut, Sachin had to prove people right. You had to prove people wrong. Could you just speak something about that?
I think when I first came into the team, there were lots of doubts. Even I had doubts about how I would go in international cricket. I guess the first time I picked up a fifer against South Africa in Johannesburg, that's when I got the confidence that if I can do it once, then I can repeat it. But when I walked into the team, I think there were a lot of doubts. There were reports suggesting that, at best I could just restrict a batsman. I don't think I'm necessarily a bowler who can win test matches outside of India. I needed doctored pitches.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why doctored, because I'm an engineer. I preferred to engineer pitches and not really have to bowl on doctored pitches. So these questions were always there. In fact, even post-retirement, the first question, I don't remember who asked me that question, but it was in Delhi after the test match against Australia. The first question was, so Anil, how does it feel to retire taking 600 more, 600 plus wickets without actually spinning the ball? So I guess, you have to answer back straight, looking at them. So I said, look, I'm glad that it's taken the batsman 18 years to figure that out. So I guess, when you are branded in orthodoxy of suggesting that, look, everybody on the street knows how to bowl leg spin.
Yeah.
What's the grip for a leg break? What's the grip for a googly? How you need to bowl? And when you see someone bowling leg break with an off-spinner's grip, it's very different. And I was quick in the air. So it was very different for me. I always went back at someone who I idolized and who I looked up to, B.S. Chandrasekhar, who was very similar in the way I bowled. I had the good fortune of being with him when I was a 15-year-old in Bangalore.
Okay.
So at that time, I saw him bowl in the nets, and he was the one who told me you should increase your run-up. That will give you momentum through the crease, and then that will help you get pace off the pitch. So that run-up remained with me throughout my career. And whenever I went back, when all these statements used to crop up, suggesting that, look, I need to spin the ball, so he would just tell me, look, as long as your nip is there, the pace at which the ball goes at the batsman after pitching, you have the bounce, don't worry about whether it goes either way.
Yeah.
So I think that was my USP, and I stuck to it. I had to make subtle variations to be successful, not just in India, but outside of that as well. And I think, overall, I've been very, when I look back, I think it's a very, I'm very satisfied with what I've been able to do. But, like I said, yes, you need 20 wickets to win test matches, but also you need your batters to put runs on the board.
Yeah.
So I am indebted to all those batters who put runs on the board, because otherwise you can't just win test matches like that. So we've had some wonderful memories. Of course, when you retired, you would have wanted or preferred to have a few more wins under your belt, but otherwise, it's been a wonderful career.
Is there a kind of mental block within the cricket system in India in terms of embracing players who are pretty different and diverse? You were there, Viru is pretty different. But unlike a Sri Lanka, which embraces a Lasat Malinga, which embraces a Muthiah Muralidharan, is there a kind of an orthodoxy that seeps in and then kind of conditions our perceptions?
No, I think now, thanks to T20 cricket, nobody's looking at orthodoxy. Everybody wants, new, different kinds of bowlers, different kind of batsmen. You want all kinds of skill sets to be in display. So I don't think it was there. I'm glad that there was not too many coaches who look to change the style that I bowled. It goes with Bumrah as well. I mean, I think if you were too conformed to what we believed was the way a fast bowler should bowl, then I don't think Jasprit Bumrah would have emerged as a leading fast bowler for India. So in that sense, I think we are still okay with that.
Yeah.
I think the current generation is looking at other options of, either you have variations in the deliveries that you bowl. At best, as a bowler, the ball can only go three ways. It can either come straight or go away or go in. The variations that you can bring in is through your action, through angles that you can use at the crease. So every team is looking for these kind of bowlers, you so-called mystery bowlers. So I think it's a lot more open today to accepting players and not necessarily looking at them in terms of their technique, but how they can be performing consistently over a period of time. Of course, you need the basic foundation of a technique to survive for a longer period of time. But having said that, I was fortunate that there was nobody trying to push their thinking. I don't think they would have, even if they attempted, I don't think they would have got through. That's a different thing. But I think it was important for me to just accept the way I was and make those subtle changes. So Sri Lanka, yes, they are very different when they came to the scene, whether it was Jayasurya, whether it was Muralidharan. Muralidharan also was very different, whether it was Lasat Malinga. But I think even we have been very open in the way we have looked at players who have come through.
How significant is a captain in terms of nurturing a spinner? I mean, I remember a long time back when I did an interview with you, you clearly mentioned Mohammad Azharuddin, and you said that how Azhar had told you that even if it's a green pitch and he wins the toss and he elects to bowl, if he feels that you could bowl the first over, you'll bowl the first over. I mean, so.
Yeah, it's very important. I think you need the backing of your captain. You need the understanding of the captain that, okay, in this kind of a situation, he can turn to a bowler who he believes can do the job. So I was very fortunate to have someone like Azhar as the first captain, because I think it's very important for a bowler to have a captain who understands the requirements of the spinner and also brings him in at times when you believe that he can be successful. And I think, he was someone who, like you said, even on a green top, would probably pass the ball on to me to say, okay, I'm backing you to get a wicket. I think that confidence certainly helps any player, for that matter, be it a batsman or a fast bowler or a spinner, more so for a spinner, especially when you travel outside of India. In India, you certainly have the conditions going in your favor, not necessarily on day one, but perhaps day two, day three. But when you travel abroad, generally the pitches deteriorate on the fourth or fifth day. So you need the confidence of your skipper. Again, cricket is very different. When you select teams, you base your selection on the pitch. And invariably, when you look at the pitch, you change the bowlers, not the batsmen. And you pick your best batting lineup, irrespective of how the pitch is. You don't pick your best bowling lineup based on the pitch. You say, okay, this is a turning pitch. I need an extra spinner. This is a green pitch. Let me drop my spinner, who probably is your best bowler in your team.
Yeah.
So I think that's a skewed logic that I don't understand. But I guess that's the way all of us have been brought up, where you expect the batsman to adjust to the bouncy pitch, the turning pitch, the seaming pitch, but you don't expect the spin bowler to adjust to a seaming pitch or a flat pitch or a bouncy pitch. So that logic is a bit skewed.
And then just recently, you had the 21st anniversary of your perfect 10. You're the second bowler to a perfect 10. Your memories of the day, I mean, I will say my memory of that day. Yeah. I was covering a tennis event at KSLTA, coach. So when I walked to the KSLTA, coach, you had just some 4 wickets in your kitty. So cover the event, I'm walking through Cubbon Park, back to the Hindu office in Infantry Road. And one gentleman is jumping up and down in Cubbon Park. And he's saying, Hattu, Hattu. And I'm like, what happened? So he said, Hattu wicket. I said, like what? And then he's just mentioning your name. So I said, no, this can't happen. Then I'm thinking, is it a match all of 10 wickets? And then I get back to office and then I log into Cricinfo and it's like, it was very surreal to know that someone has got 10 wickets. And how was the day for you?
I don't think you go into any match thinking that you're going to pick up all 10. Of course, you tend to do your mental preparation of going into a game, of going through your batsmen. So I used to do that. I used to look at visualization of how I need to bowl the next day. I knew that I would be bowling on day 1. So irrespective of the test match, the opposition, the previous day of any test match, the start of any test match, I would visualize thinking that I'll be bowling first.
Okay.
So if he batted first, then obviously I would take a break from what I would want to do on a pitch. So the previous night you would go through the batsmen of the opposition who you think would play in the playing 11, go through the batting order, set fields, get them out in your mind, and then go to the next batsman. So move on like that.
Yeah.
Some days you would not go past the openers for some reason. I won't spend more than 5 minutes because the more you're fighting against your mind, saying, okay, I want to get him out. But some days you just don't go past the first 2 batsmen. So I did that exercise right throughout my career. And even the previous night of this 10-wicket haul, I went through the 11 batsmen of the opposition, and I got all of them out.
Okay.
In my mind. So I guess, when I... And we were very disappointed after the loss in Chennai. We lost by 12 runs to Pakistan. This was, 10 years after the last time that any team from Pakistan had played India in a test match. So we were very disappointed. We went to Delhi, and we were in a position where we could win the test match. 420 runs to defend on a 4th day, 5th day. At lunchtime, there were 100 for no loss. So I knew that it had to be me to put my hand up because there were a few spots on the surface where I could take advantage of. It was two-paced, odd ball was keeping low. And I knew I was a senior spinner because Harbhajan was playing his second series and he was still 18, 19. So I knew that I had to be the lead spinner to do any damage. So once it started, it just rolled and I kept bowling. I changed ends after lunch, bowled from the pavilion end and then went through the unchanged spell.
What's with the Sachin superstition there?
No, so he wanted to change my luck. So Sachin thought that the thing was to change the luck. So he just took my cap and the sweater and handed it over to the umpire, saying, "Look, this will bring you luck." And the first over that happened, I got the first wicket. Then I got the second wicket immediately. And he was not doing it every over. So in fact, when I wanted a wicket, I was looking out for Sachin, saying, "Where are you? Come, hand over the sweater and the cap." And it didn't stop just in that match. I know it's become a famous story because it happened in that game, or it started to happen from that game. From that game onwards, whenever I was bowling, in India, if you're bowling in February, March, down south, there's no chance of a sweater. So you only have the cap. So you're looking out for Sachin saying, come, hand over the cap, change the luck, let me get a wicket this over. So it happened. Every time he did that, I got a wicket. I was lucky, and six out of six at tea time, I was getting tired. The break really helped.
Yeah.
Then again, it just happened. I was probably destined. 9 out of 9, and Jawgal Srinath, I didn't have to say anything to him. By the way, I did
He's
not
bowling
say
wides.
anything. I did not say anything to him. Although he's a very dear friend, and I think we have a mental telepathy. So I don't think I need to say anything to him. So he probably bowled the most difficult over that he ever had in his career.
Not take a wicket.
Not take a wicket, because you've trained your mind all the time to bowl at the stumps, and here he had to untrain all of that and then bowl wide.
Yeah.
He got wided a couple of times.
Yes.
And I think there was one opportunity of Vakar Yunus where Sadagopan Ramesh, I think, forgot that I was to get the 10th wicket.
Yeah, he ran for it.
He ran for it.
Yeah.
And
then someone yelled at him?
yeah, I was at third man. I didn't yell at him. This was at mid-wicket, so I'm sure Srinath was yelling at him. And he didn't realize, but it was really far away.
Okay.
So probably I was destined to get all 10. It happened the next over. I knew I wanted to give Wasim Akram a single and then get Vakar on strike. I did that first ball. I had long gone back. I thought, let me give Wasim a single and then get Vakar on strike. He was in no mode to take a single. He realized that, look, I'm going to just block 6 balls here and then let Vakar take the strike of the other bowler. So I realized that I had to get Wasim out. Otherwise, it would be really embarrassing. And this time I had to ask Srinath a second time, saying, come on, bowl wide. I mean, I probably was destined. Again, Wasim, going by the history of what I do, played for a straight ball, it spun. and Lakshman probably was I guess all the fielders around the bat were probably shivering, saying, don't let the ball come to me. So Lakshman, it was a reflex catch, fantastic catch, a short leg. And I remember it like it's happened yesterday. So yeah, it was one of those things where, like I said, it was destiny. Yeah. And from there on, the expectations obviously were different. So every time someone saw me, they said, okay, you need to take 10. And I said, yeah, sure. Yeah. And cricket is such a game that 3 days later, I was struggling to get 1 wicket in a test match where we played the Asian Test Championship against the same Pakistan team in Calcutta. Jawgal Srinath got 8. Yeah. And I got 1. So I think, karma...
It evens out.
Yeah, evens out in 4 days. Yeah. The good Samaritan that Srinath is got credited with a 8-wicket haul 3 days later, and I struggled to get 1 wicket. So I guess, it just balances out.
I remember the next day, there were 2 lovely reports, Vijay Lokpale in the Hindu and Ajay Shankar in the Indian Express. So Ajay had written about this passage of play where Sadagopan Ramesh is running for the catch, and he said, and it's a kind of hypothesis, he puts out this line, was there a half smile on Anil Kumble's face? Because he almost saw the record go away and then it's coming back to him. Was it true? Did you have a smile?
No, I didn't even, I was not even thinking because, I was only focusing on what I need to do the next over, if at all I get that next over. In fact, a couple of, 5 years before that, when Kapil Dev wanted to cross Richard Hadley in Bangalore, when we played Sri Lanka in a test match. This was the 4th day of the test match, and he was on 4-3-0. So 4-3-2 was the record, and Sri Lanka had 2 wickets left for us to win the test match. So I was bowling at the other end, and Kapil was bowling from the pavilion end, and the instructions were very clear that I had to bowl wide. So I bowled a wide ball. The batsman, I don't remember, I think it was Don Anurasiri or someone. I don't remember who the batsman was. He swung the bat at a wide delivery, inside edge, bowled. So I put my hand up. I said, look, not my fault. Don't blame me. So he equaled the record in Bangalore, and then, of course, he went past that in Ahmedabad in the next test match. So, yeah, I think, I followed instructions. Srinath also followed instructions. Yeah. But I was probably destined to get that wicket.
Yeah. And what he said is a very candid admission about fielders shivering, because I've got enough.
Not just that in that game. I think every game.
Like every game. Yeah. Like I've got enough and more Ranji where Anil has played, and if a guy misfields and he just tries to avoid Anil, he goes to third man or fine leg, avoid eye contact. He's furious, and between overs, he lets it fly.
Yeah. I think it was important that I let the fielders know what they had done. Because ideally, as a bowler, irrespective of, even if you get clobbered for six sixes, you would ideally want to bowl at one batsman. Because you are trying to set batsmen up, although the batsmen never admit that the bowler sets him up. Always batsmen feel that they get out because of a loss of concentration, or there was something in the pitch, or the umpire was not looking. So, so I guess when you're a bowler, you always believe that you're setting a batsman up, and you're more intelligent than the batsman, and you try and set him up. So if you want to set a batsman up, ideally you want him facing those six deliveries. You don't want, and I hated when two batsmen came in and then just kept taking those singles, and then they kept crossing each other.
Yeah.
And you had to bowl at two different batsmen in an over. Yeah. So that was the main purpose of trying to restrict batsmen from getting a single. I didn't mind batsmen hitting fours, but I didn't want them to take singles and then get off strike.
So I've seen you lose cool with your own fielders. Like you troll your own fielders, right? You sledge your own fielders. But probably the only time I saw you lose cool with an opposition guy was Inzamam ul Haq, in a test match. What really happened? Because he's such a cool guy and you're a cool guy overall. So there was some, yeah, I remember there was something that happened.
No,
and then when you're walking towards the dressing room, you put an arm around him and then you kind of patched up at lunch break.
No, I don't remember, because Inzi was someone who walked in. The moment he walked in, he wanted to stamp the authority. He would step out. Generally, when I was bowling, not many batsmen came out of the crease to hit me over the top. But Inzi would want to do that. Probably that was his way of attacking first, and then he plays the game like that, where he would attack the spinner, then push the spinner to play a defensive role, and change the pace at which I bowled. So maybe that was his way. I don't know. I don't remember, actually, Vijay. Although it was
because
one
we were
incident.
discussing this in the press box.
Although you're saying that it was just one-off incident, I don't really remember that one-off incident.
Okay.
But I don't know why I got angry with Inzi. You don't generally with someone like Inzamam, but I think he was someone who hardly spoke. Yeah. And his sheer presence was so, and he was a quality player. So. Yeah. I don't think it was anything.
It wasn't that bad.
I don't think so. I don't know whether it was Inzi or somebody else in the non-striker having a go at me. I don't know. Probably. Okay.
So Anil, I just want to talk about the 2002 Antigua test. You bowl with a broken jaw, you get Brian Lara's wicket. Vivian Richards wrote about it, and he said that's the bravest thing he's ever seen in the field of cricket. What made you do that?
No, I don't know what made me do that, but I think one thing is for sure, that I always believed if my shoulder was fine to bowl, I was fine to bowl.
Okay.
So my shoulder was fine. There was nothing wrong with my shoulder. And I think even if you look back at the 96 series that we toured West Indies, we lost in Barbados very narrowly. We had never won in West Indies before that. And here there was an opportunity for us to win the test match. Okay. I didn't play in the first test win in Trinidad. I played the first test in Guyana, got dropped in Trinidad. We won the test match. Okay. The third test match in Barbados, I didn't play. We lost the test match. So it was 1-1 going into Antigua. And I had made a comeback. Yeah. And I knew that I had to, and this was a comeback after my injury. So I knew that I had to make up for all the lost time. And also we had scored 600 runs. Yeah. And I felt, and I was the only spinner, I felt if I can go there and pick up a few wickets and put India in a commanding position in the first innings, we have a chance to win this test match. And that was the only reason that I walked out to bowl. I think Andrew Leapers was really worried when I walked in to bowl. Even Chetna was very worried. She thought I was just, casually saying that, when we spoke. I said, look, it's a fracture, I'm coming back home, but I'm going to go and bowl. So she thought I was just joking. Okay. And similarly, when I told Andrew Leapers that, I want to go out there and bowl, he thought I was just joking. But I decided to go and bowl. I was fine. I didn't realize the adrenaline was pumping so much. In fact, I got 2 wickets. The second wicket of Carl Hooper as well, of a no-ball. I think the most worried when I was bowling was not the batsman, not any of our fielders. I think it was David Shepherd, the umpire. because he looked scared. Uh, Whenever I walked back, he would say, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, chef, I'm fine." No, don't say anything. You just,
Okay.
yeah, are you okay? I said, yeah. So, I mean, I got Brian Lara out. Probably it was a good variation to get Brian Lara out. I don't think he was looking at the ball. He got scared looking at my face. So, yeah, I just thought that if I can put the team in a good position, then we have a chance to win the series. And that was the only underlying fact that made me go out there and bowl.
But did it sink in then what you did? Because you landed here, so few of us assembled at the old HAL airport. And you're very nonchalant about it. It's like, yeah, I did my job, so what's the big deal?
Yeah, I mean,
did it sink in?
No, not really. Even now, I think when I look back, I would have done it.
Okay.
If it had happened and if I could go and bowl there, I think it's fine. I didn't. Yes, there was a risk of again getting hit, a cotton ball chance, maybe a dive going wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, there's always a risk when you're playing sport. I mean, irrespective of whether you have a fractured jaw or a dislocated shoulder, there's always a risk in sport. You can get hit. So I never thought about that.
Okay.
I think the moment you start thinking about all of that, then you'll never have the courage to go in and do what you want to do. So I think, I mean, I've never been brought up to worry about what's going to happen.
Okay.
You just go out there and do it, and then decide what happens after that. It doesn't really matter whether you don't get a wicket or you get smashed. It doesn't really matter. You're just going there and doing a job. Yes, when I look back, I think it's impacted a lot of people. A lot of people remember that incident, and I never expected that something like that would be the reaction from people who have watched cricket all across the world. So yeah, I'm really, I never realized when I went into bowl that it would create that kind of an impact.
Okay. What about your test 100 at the Oval? The memories of that. I mean, you raised the bat. Was it premeditated? Like you immediately acknowledged the 100 because there was some talk about it wasn't an edge. Did it go off the pad?
Yeah, I didn't let Steve Buckner think. If I had not lifted the bat, he would have probably given it byes. So I didn't want to lose out on those 4 runs because you had Srishant at the other end, and we had put together a partnership of 50 runs.
Yeah.
When he walked into bat, I was 70 odd batting. So I knew that I had to go after Kevin Peterson because after that, taking a single and then waiting for the other bowler, you have a chance. But then I felt, look, I probably premeditated, and I jumped out very early. So Kevin saw that, and then he threw it wide. I just threw my bat at it, inside edge, went in between the keeper.
And then you immediately raised the bat.
I immediately raised the bat because I didn't want Steve Buckner, the umpire, to think that it missed the bat.
Okay.
So he didn't have a choice but to declare a boundary.
Anil, you played with varied generations. When you made your debut in 1990, you were rubbing shoulders with Dilip Vengsarkar, Kapil Dev, Mohammad Azharuddin. Sachin was already there. And then there was a subsequent generation of the Dravids, Ganguly, Lakshman, Sehwag, Zaheer. And then to Dhoni. How do you look at the evolution? And then you also coached the Indian team with Kohli as the captain. How do you look at the evolution of the Indian team?
I've been fortunate to have probably been a part of a team which has had success across disciplines.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough to be a part of a dressing room with some great players.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, from 1990 up until 2008, and then also as a coach. So in terms of what has changed, I think the fitness has definitely changed the way it's looked at in the Indian team. I think we started to look at fitness more closely around the time that John Wright walked into the dressing room as a coach. Andrew Leapers, Adrian coming on board. I think around that time was when there were constant checks on what players did, and that improved the fitness levels. I think 2003 World Cup was a classic example. So from there on, I think the focus shifted towards the team
Okay.
of having a gym culture and not necessarily, and that was I think, the 2000, the first half of 2000, the senior players and the junior players, I think, mingled together in a gym. And the constant conversations that we used to have of the day's play, or for that matter, passing on information, I think came around in a fitness center. So
Okay.
that was really different from probably in the 90s.
Dr. Ali Rani was there, manager?
In the 90s, yeah. But later on, it was different. So I think from there on, it certainly changed. And the current Indian team, I mean, you won't get an unfit, not an unfit, but then, the fitness culture is so vast now, and then the focus is really, really strong on fitness. And the amount of cricket that the current generation play, you need to be that. You need to recover quickly to be able to showcase your skill. So I was fortunate to have had a sort of, the 90s, the way we went about team meetings, the way we went about getting prepared for a match, versus the 2000 where it was more professional. There were a lot more interactions between the players. The younger players who walked into the team also could speak about what they felt. I think the current generation, it's very different. It's very different of having a conversation around a team. So I think, I was fortunate enough to be a part of all of that, and I really enjoyed every passage of being a part of the team in my 18 years as a player, and then, of course, as a coach for 1 year with the team.
What are your takeaways as a player? I mean, you've played for 18 years at the highest level. Then you were an administrator with the KC, the KCA president. You were with the NCA. Then you coached the Indian team. In all these roles, what are your key takeaways, personally?
No, I think as a player, you are judged by what you do in your last innings. You can correct that immediately. Anybody can criticize. They can have a go at you in terms of your performance. And the moment you pick up 5 wickets, then everything changes. The moment you score runs, you win a match, everything changes. But I think in administration, it was very different. Where you don't see the recognition or the reward, and it's mostly a tough situation to be in, where you are looking to make changes, but then people then start doubting whether are you capable of, because you don't have administration skills. But I think what we certainly did was to go about in a very honest way and not really worry about the rewards of being a part of that profession or what you have taken up. So I think I enjoyed, like I said, whatever I've done from the start to when I've left. For me, the most satisfying thing would be, have I left that place in a better way than when I first came in? If the answer is yes, then I think I've done my job. If the answer is no, then I would be very disappointed. I think in all the areas that you mentioned, I think I can certainly look back and believe that when I left in a better space of all of those that you spoke about. Whether it was, I know NCA was very short. It was only a 1-year stint. At the same time, I was doing my KSCA responsibility as well. I certainly believe that the 3 years that we were at KSCA, certainly KSCA was a different KSCA after 3 years. And even with the Indian team, I certainly believe that the 1 year that I spent there, I certainly had wonderful time with all the players. And I think it's shown over the last 4 years, the consistent performances that this team has had has been brilliant. And the kind of players that have come in, whoever has come in has actually gone in and performed. And there's so much competition. I think that's what you want in a healthy team. And you want the cycle of your institution to be moving forward. And every decade, you want the cycle to be better than what it was in the previous decade. And that's what you want. And if the current generation have done a better job of what you did in the previous decade, I think that's what you expect. It's expected. I don't think it's anything that as a former player, I want them to perform well, and I want them to be better than what we were when we played. And the next generation, I want them to be better than the current generation. I think that's exactly what you want in sport. And you want that to be consistently viewed as, their performance. And I don't think, I'm someone who doesn't like comparisons of generations, because every generation has had its own challenges and has its own struggles. So having said that, I think, like you said, all those four responsibilities, I think I've really done a decent job to be really satisfied with.
And could you say something about the Monkey Gate episode? Was it the most testing phase of your captaincy? And I mean, as a player, you can control a lot of things on the field, but as a captain, to get the team to rally around, and the team actually was thinking in terms of flying back to India, how did you do that? Could you just say that the way you managed it? When there's talk about you and, a chartered flight coming in and then picking up the team back.
Yeah, it was really tough because I think as a captain, I know there is no school for captains in sport.
Yeah.
You just learn as you go along.
Okay.
But you learn the nuances of the game, and then how you want to put your strategy around a win for your team. And it's mostly decisions that you take on the field. Who you need to bowl, what field sets, what kind of field placement, what kind of playing 11 that you need to put together to beat the opposition. But this was something different, where you had to handle something off the field. So I was, I don't think I had any formal sort of way that I wanted to look at this. I think when you are pushed to the corner and when you have to make a decision outside of your sport, if you keep the institution and the sport in the larger interest, and forget about the individuals, forget about what has happened as issues, then I think you tend to take the right decision. I was fortunate enough when one of our former captains sent me a message saying that, son, take a decision as how history will look at you rather than what you need to do now. Yeah. So I think that was a very great suggestion coming from Bishan Singh Bedi.
Yes.
And I felt, when I look back, I think, whatever we did at that point in time, because we had gone to Australia to win the series.
Yes.
Again, we were disappointed that in 2004, we came close to winning the series. But we were the only subcontinent team which drew the series against a formidable Australian team in 2004. So I believe that we had a great chance to win the series in Australia when we went in 2007-8. We lost in Melbourne. Sydney, we should have won. Yeah. At least we should have drawn the game, but last 5 minutes we lost the game. So we were very disappointed, and this came up.
Yep.
So I realized the only way that we can go back is if we can level the series at least. Win the next one in Perth, and then hopefully win in Adelaide, and then 2-2 would be a fair result of the ability and the skill that we had in that squad. So that was the only reason that we wanted to push all the players to enable them to make sure that we play the test match rather than go back. Yeah. So it was all about convincing the players, and I was fortunate we had some wonderful senior players, former captains.
You used Sachin.
Sachin, then you had Saurav, you had Rahul, Lakshman, so very senior players, and it was very important to get their views and make sure that the person who was affected the most was Harbhajan. Yeah. So we had to take him into confidence that, look, even with us being a part of this tour, continuing the tour, we are not going to let the issue die down or dilute the issue. I think that's important. Yeah. The confidence that you give to your player who's most affected, for him to know that, look, the issue is not going to get diluted, but having said that, we will take a stance of going on and playing, certainly helped. So I think that was a major thing in that. I mean, when I look back, I think it was something that certainly changed the way we played the next test, where I've always realized that in real adversity, where fingers are pointed at a player, at a team, then good teams actually come together and fight and then succeed on the field. And that was evident in Perth when we played.
And I know you're part of the cricket committee in the ICC, you're heading it. And maybe you cannot place all your cards on the table, but there's so much talk about the 4-day test. Could you give us a sense of what you think about it?
No, I think the sense of what I think about it is the players have given that. I mean, they don't want a 4-day test. I mean, 5-day test is what it is. And a test is because it's 5 days. If it was 4 days, it wouldn't be test.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm very clear on that. It was discussed a couple of years ago, but I don't think there's any progress made on taking a decision of a mandatory 4-day test. I don't think it's ever been done.
Okay.
There was an experiment done with South Africa and Zimbabwe where they played a 4-day test match. There could be a potential 4-day test. I mean, England played Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you play Afghanistan, Ireland, Zimbabwe, maybe the boards they have the wherewithal to go ahead and play a 4-day test. But I think as far as I think the committee and also even within the ICC, I don't think there's any, at least in the immediate, thinking of having a 4-day test competition, which is mandatory. I don't think there's anything of that. But I'm really glad that the players believe that it's a 5-day competition that they want. I think one thing that all of us as fans would want is better competition in a test match. You want more teams to compete harder
and
against
last
each
5 days.
other. Not just last the 5 days, but I think the ability of a spinner coming in and the matchup between a batsman playing a spinner on a 4-day pitch and a 5th-day pitch is something that you want to see, the battle between that. And if you look back at the last 18 months or 2 years, results in Test cricket have been phenomenal.
Yep.
You've had results in Test cricket. The runs per wicket has come down drastically from what it used to be, which means that there's better balance between bat and ball.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think Test cricket is certainly giving you the right feelers of saying, yes, it's still healthy. But it's just that you want more people to come and watch Test cricket from the stadium. That isn't happening.
Okay.
But I think people who are sitting in this room are still following what is happening in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Either through their phones or through messages coming through notifications. So I don't think when people talk about saying Test cricket is dying, I don't think so. I think everybody who's sitting in this room probably know the score.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 down for -47. So So if we are following Test cricket, why are we even talking about that it's dying?
Yeah.
Yes, people going to a stadium, spending 5 days, watching Test cricket, that may have come down. So that experience needs to get better. I think to draw people into the stadium is a challenge. Even when we were administrators, when India played New Zealand in Bangalore, we threw open half the stadium to students.
Yep.
We brought them from their schools. We organized buses. We gave them meals during the entire day. And there were 12,000 people watching Test match cricket. I think that's really good. Today's youngsters, we all got inspired of becoming a cricketer, wanting to pursue this as a career, because we went into a stadium, watched Ranji Trophy, Karnataka versus Tamil Nadu. It was a packed house in Chinnaswamy Stadium. I still remember I had to really push and nudge through where cops were asking us to stop and show our tickets. And then, I was only, I think, 8 or 10 at that time. And then, my cousin said, look, he's 10-year-old, please let him in. And we watched a match between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu in Chinnaswamy Stadium, and the stadium was packed for a Ranji Trophy game. So I think there's still interest. It's just a matter of harnessing that interest and making accessible to people who want to just come in. And I think that's something that we need to look at.
Anil, what about the company you floated, 10-week sports? I mean, a lot of athletes speak about giving back to the game, giving back to sport, and you have a structured company doing a lot of work with schools, with academies, doing data analytics. So could you say something about 10-week?
I think, when I wanted to look beyond cricket, because I think as far as cricket is concerned, everything is structured. There's a lot of focus,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of, if you look at the kind of talent that is coming through in cricket and the organized method of bringing a player into the national scene is all structured. Whereas in other sports, we only talk about other sports just about the time the Olympics are due. I mean, they're due in about 3-4 months now.
Yeah.
And why are we not winning medals? That's when you start talking. But I think the groundwork needs to happen at the grassroots. And that's when I felt the need for us to develop grassroots sports.
Okay.
And bring in a sort of a system in place where you provide opportunities to everyone.
Yeah.
Currently, sport is provided only to people who want to play. Whereas in an education system, you go to school, you have to learn math, you have to learn physics, you have to learn English, you have to learn other subjects irrespective whether you like it or not. Whereas sport, no problem. It doesn't matter. You know, which sport you want to play, okay, you want to play cricket, only go play cricket. So we felt the need that it needs to come through the schools. And only from the schools you will then, the larger the audience, you will then get a better competition.
Okay.
The more people play the sport, the more competitive it's going to get. And when you filter it out and then get to the cream of the players, that's when you will get players coming through. If you look at cricket, that's exactly what is happening. There are so many clubs, so many schools playing cricket in Bangalore, so many coaching camps, whereas in other sport it doesn't happen. So Vasant Bharadwaj, who's former table tennis champion, and we got together and started this about more than 10 years ago now. And we felt the need for us to go to the grassroots and make it a compulsory sort of a program where the kids have the option to play 3 different sports in school.
Yeah.
So the school obviously had to be convinced. So it took us a while for us to convince schools. So every child from the age of 7 up until they finish their school participate in 3 different sports through a year. And we give them a certificate at the end of the year saying who's good, who can be actually pursued. So that report goes to the parent.
Okay.
And then the parent looks at their child and then starts looking at a sport that they believe that the child can progress in. Otherwise, it's invariably the parent deciding what the child should do. No, I think he's good in cricket, he's good in basketball, he's good in swimming. It's not the other way around.
Okay.
So we have given the kids a choice. And we also feel that through sport, the attention, the feedback that we have received from teachers is that the attention of these kids is much better in the classroom when they finish a sporting program and then sit in classroom rather than the other way around.
Okay.
So initially when we first went in, when we first got through these programs in schools, the school had told us, you conduct this program at the end of the classes. Okay. Now, every school tells us you start the program with your sporting stuff, and then we will get into class. So I think that's been the dramatic change. And if you look at, there are no teachers in sport. You want coaches. Yeah. You want coaches to be giving back to the game. If you look at, we've had 900 or more Arjuna awardees in this country. How many Arjuna awardees are actually a part of the sporting ecosystem currently? Yeah. They may be sitting in a public sector company, sitting and working in a desk job. But is that what you want? If you want to create a sporting environment, I think those people need to be given the option of coming back into sport and then spending time. Because if they're all winners, they know exactly how to create a champion. I think they need to be given an opportunity to come back. And similarly, if you look at the support system for sports, it's dwindled. I mean, I think 6 years ago, there were 4,000 jobs on offer in public sector companies and banks for sportsmen. Sports quota was 4,000. Now it's 2,500. It's come down. And it's only going down. Okay. So that's the biggest challenge that we have in India. But come Olympics, all of us want India to be in the top three. It's not going to happen. I mean, the last Commonwealth Games was 10 years ago when we hosted in India. From there to now, I think at the grassroots, not much has happened. So unless and until we start focusing our energies on the grassroots, you're not going to get competition to be really that high, and internationally we are able to get medals. So it's not going to happen. And even the funding.
Yeah.
You know, I know there are a lot of corporates are supporting sport, but even in the CSR, 2% goes to sport. Just 2%.
Okay.
So it's not enough. I think what we are doing is not enough. So I felt if we can get some structure to sport, to coaching methods, then potentially there could be something in the future. So our focus is mainly on the grassroots sports.
Anil, you live the fuller life. I mean, you're not just a player. You track wildlife. You do photography. Could you speak about those twin passions?
I always carried a camera along with me.
You have a lovely book, The Wide Angle.
Yeah. So, no, I felt I'm not someone who reads a lot.
Yeah.
So I felt for me to showcase what happens on tours,
Yeah.
the best way was to put together a book with all the photographs that I had collected. And generally, family holidays revolve around wildlife. And now it's, with my wife also, fortunately, she loves wildlife, and the kids have grown up going into jungles, so sometimes they don't have a choice. But now they're all old now, so I am the minority.
Do they resist?
No, they don't. I mean, my son, in fact, loves it.
Okay.
So the only connect that he doesn't play cricket. He played cricket for a while, but he is not really too much into cricket. So the connect that I have is wildlife. And we go out on wildlife tours. He loves photography as well. So that's the best connect between a dad and son. So I love that.
Okay.
And I enjoyed my 3 years of being a part of the wildlife board here for Karnataka. It was very satisfying to give back to something that I love. And I'm very passionate about wildlife conservation. And I believe that the best way to capture wildlife is through a camera. And not really, the poaching that people do. I don't advocate to that at all. And I think with the challenges that we have of growth, and I think the limited spaces that we have in our country, we need to protect them. And it's only 3% that is available for us to protect. So if we don't protect that 3%, then it's going to be a huge challenge for the future. Because ideally, I would want to pass on this to the other generations. I think it's all our responsibility, and I'm really glad that that's something that I love. And it helped me unwind as well on tours. In between matches when we had these day offs, so I would be the one who would be who would look out for nearby game park, or if you are in South Africa, a safari. So yes, that was something that we would do.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, right. Yeah. So thanks, Anil. So we'll just throw the floor open for the audience. Sure. A few questions, please. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Is that gentleman there?
Sir, very good afternoon. It was a proud moment when last month Honorable Prime Minister took your name as a motivational in Pariksha Ke Pe Charcha. Coming back to your 1996 Australian Titan Cup, where you and Srinath made finishing. So can you share some experience on that one? 1996 Titan Cup.
No, when I walked into bat, Javagal Srinath went ahead of me in the batting order because we needed some quick runs. I mean, 6 runs per over was a lot. Now 6 runs per over, you give up the game if you're a fielding side. So 6.5 runs per over was a lot. So Sri went ahead of me, then Sachin got out immediately. So as I was walking into the Chinnaswamy Stadium at the ground, the crowd were leaving. So I just looked around and everybody from my hometown were going back home, saying the game is over. So I felt very disappointed. I said, okay, let me show you guys. When you go back home, you'll realize that someone has won the game. So I mean, we just wanted to hang around and bat 50 overs. It so happened that we got together a good partnership, and we finished 1 over to spare. So 7 overs, 55 or something was needed. Sri did all the hitting. I just gave strike to him and made sure that we never got run out because invariably when you bat with Javagal Srinath, there's, although I spoke about telepathy and communication and knowing him for a long, long time. He was really quick between wickets, and I was the other extreme. So he only ran for himself. He never looked at his partner. He believed that his partner was also as quick as him. So it was always a challenge running with Sri. But eventually we made it. So I was really happy. See, if I had done it 10 or 15 times, you wouldn't have remembered it. So I'm glad that you remember it because I did it only once.
Yeah, the gentleman who stood up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you mentioned that you worked in areas other than being a player, where when you look back, you have to feel that you have made a difference. So I have saved your tweet and I follow it always, the time when you stepped down as a coach. You say that professionalism, honesty, commitment, diverse skills, these are the qualities in which you look up to, and you didn't have any qualms in stepping down as a coach. But as a fan of you, the biggest fan, I really, even till date, it gets me goosebumps as to how you handled that situation of just overnight coming down of a position of a chair which was so big and contributing, A. And B is that what is the core principle in life that makes you do so? I mean, you want to follow in the right path, but what is that one principle?
No, I think you take decisions based on what's good for the team, and if I don't think you worry too much about what's good for you. In a team sport, you never think of that. And if I could walk away from being captain of India and retire from the sport, I think anything after that is very easy. So I felt that when I took the decision of retiring from the game, I felt it was the right time. In fact, I had not even discussed it with my wife. On the morning of the on the day that I announced, I just told her casually, saying, "Look, this is my last day," and that's how it happened. And I think even from a coach's standpoint, I felt that was the right decision that needed to be done for the interest of the team, because a coach is there to enable the players and not necessarily play on behalf of the players. So my role was only to enable an environment where we could be successful. And I was really glad that we were able to achieve that over a period of 1 year. And I felt the need was for me to step away. And I don't regret that. Under the circumstances, yes, it could have been probably done better, but, I'm happy. I don't even look back. I've moved on from that. But I'm really glad that, I was given an opportunity to contribute in that fashion. But, for me, I think what matters is, the right thing to do, what is good for the team, and then carry on.
The gentleman wearing the coat? Yeah.
Hi, Anil. Nice listening to you. I just wanted to ask you about 1997 and 2007, both matches. One was a team letdown. Courtney Walsh was the captain in West Indies. It was India touring with the third match. India had to score 120 runs in the last innings. And Sachin, even to this day, regrets that you couldn't do it. I believe you were also part of that team. And then 2007, you scored your first test century. I don't know where it was. So can you just take us both through 1997 and 2007, which is about 10 years apart in your career?
No, I think, like I mentioned, 1996 was certainly a very disappointing match for us because we felt there was a great chance for us to win that match and win the series. We had to score only 120. It was a tough pitch. There was one spot where Franklin Rose was getting steep bounce and then we were getting out to him. I got out. I should have probably hung around and then got through that game. There have been many instances where, when I look back, I could have probably played better. But 2007, whenever I walked into bat, I always believed that I can get 100. So I had that belief. I'm glad that that belief came good in my 117 test match. So
Thanks.
If I had lost that belief after 50 test matches, maybe I would have never got my 100 in that game. In fact, just to I think we are running out of time, but I just want to mention this, that at the start of the series, at the start of the match, this was the fourth test match of the series. Just before the test match, in the dressing room, we had a chat about, in the team meeting, saying, I was very disappointed that knowing the quality of players that we have in this team, we still haven't scored 100 in the series so far.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I had to show them how to score 100. There were Sachin Tendulkar, Dravid, Lakshman, Saurav, Viru wasn't there.
Wasim Jafar.
Wasim Jafar, Gautam Gambhir, MS Dhoni. I mean, none of them scored 100. I was the only one who scored 100 in that series.
Yeah. So completely out of time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anil. Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.